Good morning. My name is Tina Mayer, and I will be your worship associate for today. It is my pleasure to welcome our guest pianist for today, Richard Devens. Our opening hymn, 299, Make Channels for the Streams of Love, I think is an unfamiliar one to us, so I'm going to have Richard play it through once, and then we will sing. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our hymn for today, number 299 in your gray hymnal, Make Channels for the Streams of Love.
Make channels for the streams of love, where they may broadly run, and love as overflowing streams to fill them every one. But if at any time we seize such channels to provide, the very founts of love for us will soon be parched and dried. For we must share if we must keep this gift all else above. We cease to give, we cease to have, such is the law of love.
Good morning. My name is April, and I am a member of the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley. Whether you have been with this congregation a decade or more, or this is your first time visiting, we welcome you. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Whatever your heritage, we welcome you. We respectfully acknowledge the territory on which our church building sits as the ancestral homelands of the Munsee, Lenape, and Wappinger people. We have 3 announcements today. The first announcement is the sanctuary will be decorated with the heart artwork for the month of February. The Arts Committee is asking the congregation to bring a piece of art ready to hang on February 5th. That's next Sunday. You could either make something or look into your personal collections for something that is heart-related. Announcement 2. The Arts Committee is having a Valentine's Day sale after service on Sunday, February 5th, also next Sunday. Please stop by our table in the Fellowship Hall for beautiful, handcrafted, heart-inspired art. All proceeds go to UUCHV. Third announcement. Sharing and Caring would like to be able to offer transportation to support fellow congregants if we are given 1 to 2 weeks advance notice. This transportation support would be for rides to and from fellowship services or to and from medical appointments within a 15-mile radius. To make this service happen, we need volunteers. If interested in volunteering to provide rides, please sign up on the link in the e-news or speak to Tina Mayer, Nora Mulligan, or myself. Thanks in advance for your support to our beloved community. For the most up-to-date information on these topics and others, please refer to our weekly e-newsletter and check our website frequently. And please join us for conversation after the service. If you're present in the sanctuary, please come to the fellowship hall. If you're watching the live stream, the link for Zoom coffee hour can be found in the Saturday reminder in your email. If you are just recently joining us and would like to receive our weekly e-news, please email us at uucroton@gmail.com with your name, and we will make sure you are added to our e-news list. Also, please remember to silence your phones at this time. Once again, we welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley.
It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today, Michael DeSantis. Michael is an aspiring UU minister and second-year Master of Divinity student at Union Theological Seminary in New York City. Originally from Pittsburgh, Michael grew up in a non-religious Irish Catholic family before finding Unitarian Universalism in his early 20s. He has worked as a hospital chaplain, public policy advocate, and mentor to Indigenous youth. Michael now lives in Manhattan and is an active member of the First Unitarian Congregational Society in Brooklyn. Michael's spiritual practices include baking bread, taking hikes, and playing with his rambunctious rescue cat, Hootie. My pleasure to introduce you to Michael.
Thank you all for that. All right. Our opening words today come from Reverend Barbara Wells Tenhove. She's a retired UU minister. O spinner, weaver of our lives, your loom is love. May we who are gathered here be empowered by that love, to weave new patterns of truth and justice into a web of life that is strong, beautiful, and everlasting.
I now will invite all the youth present in our sanctuary to join our Director of Religious Exploration, Jane Podell, to ring our bell 8 times for our 8 principles. Our chalice lighting words today come from Betsy Dar. May the light of this chalice give light and warmth to our community when we are joyful and when we despair. And may we feel the warmth spread from our circle to wider and wider circles until all know they belong to the one circle of life. Now please join me in reading our affirmation. The words are in your order of service. Inspired by love, our mission is to seek our true nature, connect deeply and openly, and act for justice. I now invite our youth to join Jane Podell in the Fellowship Hall for their religious exploration program.
May the
Let us now bear witness to the joys and sorrows experienced in our community. If you have a brief yet personally significant joy or sorrow that you are willing to share, please come up to the microphone and speak loudly so that everyone, including the people watching at home, can hear you. If you would prefer to only have a candle lit without speaking, please just stand and I will light a candle for you. I will start with a few. The first is from Megan Fenton. She starts with a sorrow. Chris and Maggie have both now tested positive, but are both doing well, and I am now well enough to leave and to procure things for the household. Our joy is to be held up and cared for by this amazing community. Thank you for all your help and well wishes. We have been deeply moved by your generosity. Hopefully, we will see you all in a couple of weeks. I will also light a candle in memory of Tyree Nichols.
Good morning. My name is Jim, and I have a note of concern this morning, and that is that my sister's husband, Gary Evans, and his office administrator have just both been diagnosed this morning with COVID, so we're real concerned about them.
Good morning. I'm Bob. I have a concern. A good member of our congregation, Bob Neukens, had a lower back operation in the fall, and apparently he's not really progressing as well as he wanted to. He has difficulty sitting for any length of time or standing. He wants to get back here to the fellowship, and so does Mary, to see all our friends. So best of luck to Bob, and your thoughts and prayers for him.
I'm Nora. I have a joy. On Wednesday, I'm going to be driving out to Indiana to see my little granddaughter, and I will be there for 2 weeks. I won't see you except on the live stream, but I will be thinking of you.
Hi everyone, I'm Ann Pearl. It is my joy to announce that once again my theater group will be performing in this space, in the Fellowship Hall to be exact. Beginning on February 10th, we're doing the Laramie Project, which is a very important play. I encourage you to learn more about it if you don't already know it. It will run for 3 weekends. There's information in the newsletter, in the e-news, that will continue to run for the next several weeks. Everything you need to know to get tickets. So thank you, and I hope you all come to see it.
Hi, I'm April, and I just have a quick joy, and the quick joy is that our guest pianist is playing a lot of Bach this morning, Bach is close to my heart, and it made me feel nice that I was like, oh, great. So it was really a joy, so thank you.
I have a joy and a sorrow. On Thursday this week, one of my students was able for the first time to sit through a Regents exam. It was a huge, huge win for everybody. The sorrow is, an hour and a half later, state troopers showed up to take him away back to Syracuse. He's going down for probably 40 years for gang-style murder.
we acknowledge all the joys and sorrows held within the sanctuary of our hearts. And we also light a candle for those who have yet to find a place to share their joys and sorrows.
Now is a time in our service when we come together for a time of prayer and meditation. For this time today, I'm focusing a lot on the meditation part of this, and this might be a bit of a change. I'm not sure what your normal pace is, but I want to invite you all to join me on a guided meditation today. Today, this is going to be a shortened version of a loving kindness meditation, which is very much inspired by the Buddhist practice of metta meditation. As some of you may know, this is a practice that's intended to cultivate loving friendliness, loving compassion, and loving kindness towards oneself, towards one's neighbors, and towards all other beings. And our practice today is adapted from Dr. Eve Ekman. So as we begin, I invite you all to find as comfortable of a position that your body can allow. However it is that you relax, let yourself relax into this space. Breathe normally in and out as your body allows. If it feels safe and if it's helpful for you, you can close your eyes. But if you prefer, you're more than welcome to leave them open as well. Roll your shoulders back. Unclench your jaw. Do what your body allows, whatever your body can, to relax you in this moment. This is time for stillness and quiet. Now, think of a person close to you, a person who you know loves you very much. It could be somebody from the past or the present. Could be somebody who's still in this life, or somebody who's gone on ahead. Whoever this person is, imagine them standing in front of you, sending you their love. This loved one is sending you wishes for your safety, for your well-being, and for your happiness. Feel the warm wishes and love coming from that person towards you. Now imagine that you are surrounded on all sides by all the people who love you and have loved you in your lifetime. Picture the faces of all your friends and all your loved ones surrounding you. All of them are sending you wishes for your happiness, well-being, and health. Bask in the warm wishes and love coming from all sides. You are filled and overflowing with warmth and with love. Now it's time to share that love with other people. Picture a person who you love, perhaps a relative or a friend, perhaps another person here in this wonderful congregation. Begin to send the love that you feel back towards that person. Just like you, this person wishes to be happy and have a good life. So send all your love and warm wishes to them. If it helps, you can repeat the following phrase silently inside your head. May you live with ease. May you be happy. May you be safe and healthy. And now continue to expand your awareness and picture the whole globe in front of you as a little ball. Picture all of the beings, all of the people, all of the animals, all of the plants, every one of them who lives on this little globe. All of them who, just like you, just like us, want to be happy. Send them your love and your warmth. And if it helps, you can repeat the same mantra. May you live with ease. May you be happy. May you be safe and healthy. Continue to extend loving kindness to yourself and to all these beings, breathing in and out as we enter into now a minute of quiet reflection.
Our reading today is a poem entitled Fall in Love by Reverend Joseph Whelan. Nothing is more practical than finding God, than falling in love in a quite absolute, final way. What you are in love with, what seizes your imagination, will affect everything. It will decide what will get you out of bed in the morning, what you do with your evenings, how you spend your weekends, what you read, whom you know, what breaks your heart, and what amazes you with joy and gratitude. Fall in love, stay in love, and it will decide everything. Now please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 95 in your gray hymnal, There Is More Love Somewhere.
I'm gonna give
Before I begin, I just want to say that it's so very good to be with you all here today. It's always such a joy for me to see what life is like at all these different UU congregations, but I have to say I've especially enjoyed the welcome that I've received here from you all at the congregation of the Hudson Valley, just getting to meet some of you as you streamed in. It's been really lovely. Thank you all so much for that. Also want to extend my sincere gratitude to everyone who's involved in making today's service happen, especially Tina, who has been just a phenomenal and helpful worship associate for me, just like getting me all set up as I was planning this and just kind of showing me the ropes today as we were getting ready for this. So thank you so much, Tina. Now, speaking of today's service, if you've been paying attention, you might have noticed a theme. Indeed, love is in the air here today at the UU congregation of the Hudson Valley, and it sounds like with this heart project that it might be getting more in the air quite soon enough. Of course, there's like this kind of romantic love that we associate with Valentine's Day, and which I imagine is why this heart project is happening. But that kind of romantic love isn't the only kind of love. Love is such a big topic for us. We use the word love all the time and for so many different reasons. Let's think about some of those reasons for a minute. What are some of the ideas or words that you associate with love? Go ahead, you can take a minute and think about some of those words. You don't have to share them, so don't worry about that. Now, I'm guessing that for many of us, our minds immediately jumped to people. People we love and people who love us back. People like our spouses or our children or our friends or other family members. Perhaps if you're like me, you'll also think of other living beings that you also happen to love, like my cat or your dogs or some of the other pets in the audience. And I'm guessing that a lot of us also thought about words or traits that we associate with love. Words about the ways that love makes us feel. Words like care, affection, warmth, tenderness. But if I had to guess, there's probably 6 words that didn't come to mind for a lot of us here, at least not at first. Those 6 words: generosity, equity, justice, pluralism, transformation, and interdependence. Now, for those of you who are wondering just where in the heck I'm going with these 6 words, I swear there is a point to all this. And that point is that our faith tradition, Unitarian Universalism, is currently considering changes to our 7 principles. Changes to those 7, and now for some congregations like you all, 8 principles that have guided our communities since the 1980s, since before I was born. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to ask who here was born back then. I'm sure that some of you have heard about these proposed changes. I spoke to Reverend Daniel, your minister here, and he told me that he and your board are planning to actually host some workshops about those changes over the next couple months. But just in case you haven't heard about it yet, or even if you have heard about it and you just need a bit of a reminder, here's a brief recap of how we got here. As part of our tradition being a living tradition, our national association, the UUA, is supposed to review our principles and purposes about every decade or so. In 2020, the UUA proposed re-examining and re-evaluating our principles more thoroughly than at any point since they were adopted in the 80s. The spirit of re-examination was inspired, at least in part, by the conversation around the 8th principle, which I know that you all adopted here. The UA appointed a commission to review this and to propose revisions to the principles. And just over a week ago, that commission presented its final report. And in that final report, there's a final draft of a new proposed set of UU values. Those new UU values that the commission proposed are centered around the value of love. They're centered around the same thing that is our theme for today's service. The new principles say the following about the role that love plays for us as UUs. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Now, those shared values that the Commission has proposed, yep, you guessed it. It's those 6 words that I listed earlier: generosity, equity, justice, pluralism, transformation, and interdependence, which makes a strange definition of love in some ways. And of course, love is at the center of all that. And I mean that quite literally. If you've seen any of these graphics that they've drawn up, they've actually put this circle with love in the middle, and then around it they have the other 6 values. Love and this proposed change to our principles is literally the center of our faith. It's literally the thing that holds us together. Now, those proposed values are obviously a major departure from the principles that have united us for so long, and I even saw some shaking heads here. I'm sure that many of you, like me, think of this idea of changing the principles at first as a sense of loss, a sense of grief about the potential of leaving behind something that has guided us for so long. Now, I personally happen to love the current principles. They're what drew me to Unitarian Universalism in the first place. I wanted a faith tradition where my very eclectic spiritual practices would all be welcome. And I found just that in our 4th principle, which promotes a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. I also love that the focus on justice in our current principles, especially now that congregations like you have adopted the 8th principle. But I also happen to love the idea of centering love more intentionally in our faith, in our practices, and in our work in the world. For me, love is already at the heart of what it means to be UU, and it's already at the heart of my young ministry career. In fact, when I was first contemplating why I wanted to go into ministry and thinking about pursuing a vocation, I told myself that being a minister would be a good option because I just wanted a job where all I had to worry about was loving people and spreading love out in the world. And I think that ministry, just like our congregations, is at its best that. It's just that. It's spreading love. But besides that, love is already woven deeply into the tapestry of our UU faith. We've long named love as a central part of what we do here. I'm sure many of you have heard the common UU saying, love is our doctrine, service is our prayer. And here in your own congregation, I couldn't help but notice that your affirmation and your little logo happen to emphasize the words seek, connect, act, and love. Love is so much a part of our UU tradition that I was honestly surprised to find as I was working on this sermon this week that the word love does not appear anywhere in the 7 or 8 principles as they're currently written. Now, before I go further, I just want to emphasize for those of you who are still skeptics about these new principles and new values that I'm not actually here to convince you that they're the way we need to go. It's not my role to tell your congregation or a national body what we should be doing. In true UU fashion, those conversations are going to play out in our democratic process, in our congregations, and in our national general assemblies. But I do want to let you know that if you're feeling unsure about these new values, you are not alone. This past November, as the Commission was reviewing the proposed changes, I participated in a listening session that the Commission had arranged. Thanks to the wonders of Zoom, I was joined by hundreds of UUs from across the country, and perhaps even a few UUs from this congregation. And those UUs, it was very clear very quickly, ran the gamut with their opinions about the new values. Many people said that they felt really excited about the new values, and really excited about the way that they put love at the center. But many also shared that they felt a sense of grief or a sense of fear about losing something that we know so well. And at least a handful expressed resistance specifically to the ways that the new principles center love. One person who I happen to remember quite well who fell into this last category described the love language as being too, and this is a direct quote, woo-woo. She thought that the idea of love was nice, also another quote, but she said that to her, the idea of love felt too soft, too kind-hearted, and perhaps actually just too naive for our current moment. That love was just too weak of a foundation to withstand what has become a world hardened and mean-spirited and at times all too violent. This person, like many of the people on that Zoom call who questioned why the new values centered love, felt like we needed a stronger foundation for this moment. That we, as a faith tradition, might perhaps be better served by centering our focus on one of our other major principles, on justice. And to be honest with you, I understand where people like her are coming from. This week of all weeks makes it all too hard to feel like love is winning or that love will, in the end, prevail. How are we to believe in the power of love in the wake of Tyre Nichols' murder at the hands of Memphis police officers? How are we to respond with love after seeing a video that contains so much hatred, so much brutality, so much violence? Well, for a start, I think we can look to the example of Tyre Nichols' mother, Rovon Wells. In the wake of her son's death, Wells and the rest of Nichols' family have insisted that the police release the video to the public. Wells fought for the public to see the video that she could not herself bear to watch. Now, I don't know about you all, but I would call what Wells did an act of love. Out of her love for her son and for all too many Black and brown men imperiled by police violence, she fought to keep her son's killers accountable. She fought to make the truth visible, even at the cost of immense personal pain. She fought to make that truth public so that maybe someday these types of murders won't become the norm in this country. Rovon Wells shows us that love, as I discussed in the beginning of this sermon, is complicated. Love is, with all due respect to that person, that you from the listening session, not just woo-woo. Love is, I believe, the most powerful resource that we have. Now, I'm by no means the first person to hold this belief. The great Martin Luther King Jr., for example, was a staunch believer in the power of love. There's a lot of great MLK quotes about love, but just for the purpose of this sermon, it's important to note that at various points in his life, MLK described love as both, quote, the greatest force in the universe, and, quote, the most durable power in the world. For MLK, love was anything but woo-woo. He once said that love is not emotional bosh. It is not empty sentimentalism. It is the active outpouring of one's whole being into the being of another. MLK believed that this active outpouring of love was inseparable from the work of justice. He saw love as a strong force, a force that inspired him and his fellow civil rights protesters to resist the racism of Jim Crow. Now, that said, my favorite statement on the relationship of love to justice actually comes from one of my own professors down at Union, Dr. Cornel West. One of Dr. West's best-known sayings is that justice is what love looks like in public. Now, this fall, I had the great blessing to take a class with Dr. West, which was a wonderful experience I'd be happy to talk with you all about in coffee hour. But in this class, this theme about the relationship of justice and love, it came up over and over and over again. You see, for Dr. West, there is no true justice without true love. Time and again, Dr. West emphasized to us that you can't just do justice for the sake of justice. You can't just do it for the sake of being an ally. And you can't just do it for the sake of posting about it on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is that people just a little bit younger than me use these days. We have to do justice work, he insisted, ultimately because of a deep, heartfelt love for our neighbors. What Dr. West is ultimately drawing our attention to, I think, is the importance of our motivations. If all we care about is justice for the sake of justice, we can get caught up in intellectual discussions about what justice is, or we can walk away when we decide that something isn't actually about justice. But if we act out of love, well, love forces us to reach out to our neighbors whenever we see them suffering. Love forces us to care for them whenever and wherever we see them in need or when we see them in pain. Love forces us to stand in solidarity with our marginalized neighbors when they face oppression, no matter what the cost might be to ourselves. By centering love, we actually center people. Dr. West's call to live a life centered on love and on people is, I think, actually the same call that I hear in those UU principles that have been proposed. And that is a call for each of us to become people filled with love down to the very core of our being. And that message about love is the same one that we hear in today's reading. A reading which referred to the act of, quote, finding God as the act of falling in love. Now, given that this is a great group of UUs, I'm sure that finding God language might be a little tricky for some of you. And that's all right. Because I think that the message still works with whatever language does work for you. Whether that goal is finding the divine, or finding the spirit of love, or finding our higher selves, or whether, to quote this month's spiritual theme here, that goal is finding our center. The message is the same no matter what the language is. Finding a deep sense of love within us will, to quote that reading, affect everything. Will decide everything. And that, good people, is why I think love is so powerful. It's one of the few truly creative forces that we actually have in this world. Love is something that we can bring into being by simply choosing to do so. We can't necessarily bring about justice by simply choosing to do so. But we can choose love. We can choose to live our lives from that deep center of love that resides within each of us. Now, how we go about that work, it'll look different for each of us. The way that I choose to cultivate love is going to look different from the way that each of you here and each of you online choose to cultivate it. For some of us, cultivating love might look like treating our family members with more patience, more grace, and more affection than we find ourselves able to do at this moment. For others, it might mean volunteering with new service organizations or advocacy groups. And still, for some of us, it might mean engaging in practices like the loving kindness meditation that you all were so kind to join me in earlier. But in these dark times, when it feels like love is losing ground, I think we have a moral responsibility to cultivate love in ourselves, in our relationships, and in our communities. We each have responsibility to choose love in all of its complexity, to choose generosity and justice and transformation and people. Because now more than ever, that kind of love is what our hurting world so desperately needs. And in the spirit of centering love, let's sing now hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us. Please rise in body or spirit as you're able. That's hymn number 131.
Together.
Each week, we make an offering from the bounty we are blessed to enjoy. We do this in a spirit of love and generosity, aware that we have benefited from those who have gone before, those who in their turn gave generously. Our offering goes to support the work of love and justice undertaken by this community. Today's offering will be shared with PrideWorks. Please refer to our newsletter or website for more information. You can make your donation in several ways. If present in the sanctuary, you may give a cash or a check in the offering plate as it comes by. You may also scan the QR code in your order of service. From your homes, you can make your donation via credit card or PayPal using the links provided in the e-newsletter. Please remember to give a little extra to compensate for the 3% surcharge. Or if you prefer, you can always mail us a check. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Please join me in the dedication of the offering. The words are in your order of service. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith. Okay. And please join me in extinguishing the chalice. The words are found in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Good people, may each of us gathered here today find love in all of its complexity. Fall in love in a quite absolute final way. Stay in love with our best, truest selves, and spread love to all of our neighbors and all of the world.